Crew Benjamin. I remember his thick, dark hair and his little lucky swirl on the back of his head.
Welcome to Still a Part of Us, a place where moms and dads share the story of their child who was stillborn or who died in infancy. I'm Winter.
And I'm Lee. We are grateful you joined us today. Please note that this is a story of loss and has triggers.
Thanks to our lost parents who are willing to be vulnerable and share their children with us.
If you're listening to this podcast, just know that on our YouTube channel there are pictures and videos that are related to the stories that are being shared.
Subscribe and share it with a friend that might need it and tell them to subscribe. Why? Because people need to know that even though our babies are no longer with us, they're still a part of us. Welcome to Still a Part of Us. I am just beyond excited to talk to April today. She reached out to me, and first of all, she's local, and that is always so fun. And so excited about that. And then also that she wanted to talk about her son, Crew. And I think this is going to be a really special discussion about him. It's been 10 years, if I'm not mistaken, since he passed away. And so welcome, April. Thank you so much for coming on the show today.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited.
Yeah, we're so excited to talk about him and talk about your family. So can you give us a little bit of an introduction of who you are, what your family looks like? And I did already allude that you are local, so she does live in Utah like we do. And so, but can you tell us, about your family and who you are?
Sure. Yeah, I'm April. My husband's name is Jimmer. Well, his name is James, but he goes by Jimmer. Yeah, it's not Jimmer Fredette, if anyone's wondering.
Yeah.
He likes to say he's the original Jimmer because he went by Jimmer before Jimmer Fredette became famous.
Yes. So. Okay. So there you go. He is the OG.
He's the OG. We have 6 kids, and we live in Utah, and
Awesome.
What else? Yeah.
And are you guys both from Utah then?
We're not. I'm from Arizona originally, and my husband's from California. We met in college at BYU.
Okay. So. Awesome. Okay. And then you guys just moved to Utah later then?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Awesome. And then your kids, what's the range of ages for your kids right now?
Right now, I have a 17-year-old down to a 5-year-old.
Okay.
So kind of a big range.
Big range. Yeah. And then
all the schools.
Yeah, I know. I was like, you got to be running around some serious carpooling.
Yep, we do indeed.
And then where is Crew in the lineup of kids?
He's number 4.
Number 4. Okay. Mm-hmm. That is wonderful. And like I said, it has been 10 years. So we're going to kind of chat a little bit more about how that all went down. So at the time, that was 10 years ago. So your oldest would have been 7, 8-ish.
He was 7. Yep. He turned 8 right after Crew died. Yeah.
Okay. So really that would have been a pretty important time too for him. And
yes.
So, okay. Okay. Well, that is great. And what do you guys like to do as a family? Are you...
I feel like we're just in the thick of it now. So we go to concerts and sporting events, and I feel like that kind of takes up our life, but we love it and, wouldn't have it any other way. So it's fun.
Super fun. Yeah. You get kind of busy with all the kids stuff. So
yes.
Wonderful. Okay. Well then, so tell me, about your family in regards to, have you always wanted a big family? Because, you've already had 3 kids by this time. Mm-hmm. Were you planning, let's keep adding? This is kind of how many kids we'd like?
Yeah, we both came from big families. My husband's from a family of 6 boys and a girl, and I'm from a family of 6 boys and 2 girls.
Okay.
So first of all, I thought we'd have all boys, which we have 5 boys and 1 girl. So followed suit, but we always wanted a big family. So
so this was just kind of on par for the course. You were just like, okay. Yeah. And any issues with fertility? Was that ever an issue?
Actually, yes. I had a bunch of miscarriages, but not in, I never had a problem getting pregnant. So I'm really grateful for that, because I know a lot of people, especially in here, have problems getting pregnant. So I'm grateful that we didn't have a problem getting pregnant, but it was just keeping them here.
Yeah. So even, I mean, I think even miscarriages are real rough, that in itself, because you're like, oh, we're pregnant. This is so exciting.
Yes.
And then a few weeks later, you're like, wow.
It's heartbreaking.
Yeah. So when it came to crew, were you guys planning on trying to get pregnant at that time? Okay.
Yes. I'm very regular. I always know when I'm, ovulating, knew when I was pregnant, like right away. And so no surprises.
Okay.
for us.
Awesome. So, and then when you found out you were pregnant, was there anything that you did special to tell your husband or
honestly, I don't remember.
Well, I mean, I was going to say it was a while ago.
I know. And I was like trying to look back at pictures and things like that. Cause I'm like, some of the details, it's crazy because you don't think you'll ever forget, but like, when you have multiples, you like get mixed up with the details. Like, when did I find out? Did I announce it? I don't remember, but I don't remember if I don't think I did anything. I wasn't like a big, like make an announcement type thing. I kind of just like guess what?
We're pregnant again.
Yeah. Yeah. Again, exactly.
Well,
he was my crew was my 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. He was my 8th pregnancy.
Because you had so many.
Because I had 4 miscarriages.
Wow.
Yeah. So, I mean, I had made a lot of pregnancy announcements before.
Yeah.
And so, like, I don't know, it was always exciting, but, always like kind of, especially, just nervous about the outcome,
Totally.
So, yeah.
And then, so once you found you were pregnant, I'm assuming you kind of followed a regular, like check in with the doctor around 8, 9-ish weeks or so.
Yeah. Yep.
And everything looked okay.
I mean, because of my history, my last loss was a second trimester loss.
Oh.
And so, I mean, I was kind of already high risk and I had 3 C-sections before that too. And so, they kind of watch, you a little more closely, I guess, because of that too. And so, I mean, I think they did like an HCG test early on.
Just to make sure, see if it was.
Sure. And I was always asking for ultrasounds early to check for the heartbeat. And my doctor was always so nice to like comply, to reassure the mom,
Totally.
And so, so that was always comforting for me to like see the little heartbeat,
Yeah.
So
that's okay. So you did get a little bit more like,
it was a little bit more. Yeah, totally.
Which is good. I know, seriously, when you've had that many miscarriages, I'd be like,
yes. You're just so worried every, second.
Yeah. And can you remind me at the time, how old was your youngest? The third.
So my third, that was my daughter. So I had 2 boys and a girl, and she was about a little over 1.
Okay.
So she was still little.
Yeah, she was little. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So that looks good actually at the very beginning. Everything was looking okay.
Yeah. I had some early bleeding.
Okay.
And I had to go to the ER for that. I don't remember how far along I was. I think I was first trimester, maybe 12 weeks-ish or something. And I remember being really nervous because for me, I know they say like, oh, spotting's normal, but me, it wasn't normal.
Yeah.
Like bleeding meant miscarriage.
Yeah.
And so I thought I was miscarrying. And so when I went to the ER, they were like, nope, everything's good. His heartbeat's good. Everything's good. So I was like, great. Okay. Awesome. So that was kind of the only little scare at the beginning,
Okay. Yeah. And how are you feeling? How do you usually do with pregnancy? Are you like usually pretty sick or like morning sickness or?
I'd say pretty average.
Okay.
So like I always have really bad heartburn.
Oh, tell me about it.
I know. Yes. And I feel like it got worse with every baby. And, but you know what? I think the old wives' tale is true. Like all my babies had hair, like
tons of hair, really?
Tons of hair. All 6 of them had tons of hair.
Yeah.
And so I don't know, maybe it's true.
I
don't know how it could be, but
I know. Isn't that so funny? You're just like, okay, that works.
I don't know how it's related to hair, but and then I did have some, morning sickness in the beginning, like first trimester, and then it kind of eases up and then definite like discomfort, I would say, in the third trimester, where you're just like getting bigger and your joints hurt and your pelvis hurts and
everything is just a little achy and
Yes. But no huge issues, just kind of your average pregnancy, I guess.
Yeah. And so and before that, you have two boys, one girl. So were you expecting? Were you planning on finding out what the gender was? I know some people are like, I'm going to have it be a surprise, and I'm like, I couldn't do that.
I couldn't. I wish I had the self-control to do that. I just don't. I think it'd be so fun to like have that be the surprise on the day of birth, but I wanted to know. I just am a planner, and I just I want to know their name. I want to get the nursery ready. I want to have all their clothes ready. So I want it ready before.
Yes.
And so I feel like knowing the gender helps with planning.
Totally.
And so it's just kind of my personality, but
that's great.
Yeah.
Okay. And then you ended up, you're going along feeling okay generally. Did you do any extra genetic testing?
So I was trying to remember this because which this is so funny because I'm like, this is where like all my pregnancies are jumbled.
Yeah.
But I looked back and I have like an announcement picture where my kids are announcing that it's a boy. And I'm like, I don't think I had the blood test. I don't think that was a thing back then yet.
Yeah, I think it was. So
maybe it was new.
We had one in 2018 with our son. I think it was not as it is definitely not as common back then than it was today. Because I feel like everybody gets it done.
Yes. I have with my subsequent, like my last two boys, I've had the blood test done early. And with Crew, I don't think, this was 2016. So I don't think I did.
Okay.
I think I went to one of those like fetal or the fetal
ultrasound things.
Yes,
yeah. Okay.
To find out before if it was a boy. And I'm actually like, I actually hadn't even thought about this until today. But I'm like, I'm actually really glad I did that because then like when I went to the 20-week, I already knew it was a boy. And I guess we could focus on the other issues that were presented at the time, if that makes sense. I don't know.
Yeah. You were able to like enjoy that time of just like, he was good. He was great and healthy.
Totally. Yeah. So I think I did do that. And then I have my three kids holding up a sign that says boy. And so that's how we announced the gender to our families. We didn't do like the big gender reveal things that are so fun now that they do, you know, so cute and so fun. But anyway, that's how we found out.
Super fun. Okay. So then you're going along, everything is looking okay. At the very beginning, they're not as visits with the doctor are not as often. So,
right.
But did you ask for a little bit more ultrasounds though even with Crew, just because of your past history?
Yes, I did. I always asked for an ultrasound
whenever
I went, and they were always nice. They're like, okay, this is a nervous mom. We'll give you an ultrasound, you know?
Yeah. I always appreciated those, honestly, just because then it felt like I got to know my son better.
Totally.
Just seeing him and
Yes. It's reassuring too, to be like, okay, I can see them. They're okay. You know?
Yeah. Okay. And then, so I'm assuming the 20-week appointment, the anatomy scan is usually a very big one. So can you tell us about how that one went?
Sure.
And did your husband come with you? I just sometimes people are able to, and sometimes they're not. So because of work and all that fun stuff. So.
He actually was able to come, which I don't think he did. Like with the first baby, I feel like they come to every appointment and they're so, whatever. But then like as more babies come, it's like I'm going in so regularly that he can't miss work and, whatever. And so I am actually really grateful he was there for this one because it was like a big blow and really hard. And so do you want me just to tell about the day kind of?
Yeah,
like
that would be
happened?
Great. Yeah.
Okay. So, we were about 20 weeks and this was like the beginning of June, I want to say. Mm-hmm. And we went in for our 20-week ultrasound and I know we had, I don't know if I always did this, but I had an ultrasound and then a doctor appointment scheduled
just
for right after.
Okay.
Yeah. And so I remember it was just so crazy. Like the whole day seems surreal to me, but we went in and I remember like going into the ultrasound and like, it's always so fun to like see them, like we were saying, and like see all their little parts. And you're like, how is that inside me and growing? Yeah. And it's just like amazing. Cool. It's just, it's a miracle, and like my body's making this human, it's just amazing, And so I was feeling all those feelings and excited and happy. And the tech wasn't really saying much. I do remember noticing, like in my brain, I didn't say it out loud, but I do remember noticing her going back to the heart a lot. Okay. And in my head, I was like, why is she going back to the heart? And then I'd kind of talk myself out of it. Like, well, I know they have a list of, I had had so many ultrasounds at that point. I had gone to a fertility doctor actually after my last loss. And I had had multiple, I had had 3 kids before that. And I had had some, like I said, fertility treatments and things like that. So not that I could read an ultrasound by any stretch, but I knew what the heart looked like ish,
right. Yes. Yeah. You're like that blob of white and black.
Exactly. So obviously I couldn't see defects or anything, but I noticed her going back to the heart and kind of noticing in the back of my brain, like, I wonder why she's doing that. But then talking myself out of it, like, well, I know they're supposed to get pictures of the brain and the kidneys and the lip and the this and that and the other. And I had had other pregnancies where they had you move and, I can't see the, this part of the body. So let's move you around a little bit so I can get a better picture, type of thing.
Yes, exactly.
Or here, we'll come back to the brain after we do this body part because he's flipped upside down or whatever, Yeah.
They have to adjust and they're just, I always think that, they always go back to things like, I'm not getting a good angle. Yeah.
Totally. So that's kind of how I justified it in my brain. I was like, they just can't see the parts they need to well. But I do remember making note of that in my brain and being like, okay, that was interesting, weird. Okay. And I didn't say anything to my husband. I didn't, you know what I mean? Yeah. And the tech didn't say anything because they can't. But I know she knew something was wrong. Looking back now, at the time, I didn't think of that. But so then we go back in the waiting room and I remember like, I would really like to go back and like look on a camera how long we actually waited in the waiting room because at the time it felt so long. Yeah. But maybe it was 10 minutes. I don't know. But it felt so long, like waiting for the doctor. I think it was longer than normal because people would come in and then get called back to their appointment and then they'd leave. And I remember being like, wow, why are we still like, what's going on? So the longer time went on, the more my like mom gut was like kind of signaling like something's wrong, and I couldn't I actually didn't feel nervous, I don't think, but just like I knew something was wrong.
Yeah, I was like, usually in the back of your, something.
There's I don't know what it is about mom gut, but it's a thing. It's a real thing.
Yep.
I can't explain it because I was like, something's wrong. And so I at one point, I literally said out loud to my husband, I said, something's wrong with his heart. And I don't even know that I had processed it. Do you know what I mean? I just said the words.
Yeah.
And my husband's very mellow and doesn't worry about anything ever, never gets anxious. I always tell people he should be a trauma surgeon because you
need that calmness in that situation.
I mean, he is in the medical field. He's a dentist, but I'm he should be an oral maxillofacial surgeon, which he wanted to be, but we didn't want to go to that much of school. Yes. And so, but he would have been so good because he is so calm, just never thinks anything's wrong. And sometimes I'm like, okay, this is something we need to worry about. Let's keep going. But for the most part, it's good because I'm highly anxious. And so it kind of balances,
Yeah.
And so I should ask him actually what he was thinking at the time. I'm sure it was nothing. But I remember saying the words, not really believing it or processing it. But I remember thinking, envisioning doctors in the back,
chatting.
My doctor, yes, and consulting other people, and I don't know if that's what happened. I should ask my doctor sometime. But I just was he's back there calling specialists and calling other doctors for opinions. And what do you think, and just thinking that, but not really thinking it was true. Do you know what I mean? It's so weird how you can I don't know, it was subconscious. almost,
Yeah.
So anyway, we finally get called back and we sit down with my OB and he says, your son has a heart defect. We don't know what it is. We don't know the severity. And I was just like hit with that feeling of just instant like grief. Like I was like devastated, and you have all the thoughts like, well, what's going to happen? Like, what does this mean? Is he going to die? Like, what's going to happen? And, my husband in those situations, he's very, like I said, he's calm and he just listens. And I'm very much like,
I need to know.
Like,
yes.
Yeah. Like, so what do you think it could be? And what do you think? And he's like, well, I'm not a specialist. We're going to send you to MFM and maternal fetal medicine and get further testing done and whatever. And I was like, can you tell me like a few features that you see in his heart that are abnormal? Because I was going to go home and Google it.
Yes.
Which you shouldn't.
But we do.
Yeah, but we do. And so I remember him saying like the left side of his heart is underdeveloped. I remember him saying his aorta was small. And that's all I remember really. And that's probably all I could understand anyways from, medical lingo. And so I just remember being devastated, and I said, so what kinds of things are you worried about? Are you worried about him having different, like, I don't know. I just wasn't sure if it was like an isolated heart. I wanted to know all the answers and they don't know all the answers right away. Like more testing had to be done.
Like if I was in that situation, I'd be like, basically, what's the prognosis? Like, is he going to die?
Prognosis.
Or is it
Yes.
like, is he going to be sickly for his entire life
Totally.
Or a heart transplant? Like, I would want to know, like, what's my end goal here? Like,
totally. So that's where my head was going. Okay, what do I need to do? And what can I do? And, like I'm going into like, just like action, like what do I do?
Yeah.
What is this? And what can I do to fix it or help it or whatever?
Yeah.
And of course he didn't know, he's not a cardiologist and, it was just one ultrasound. So, he just told me what he knew and then sent us on our merry way. And I remember we had to wait, I think it was 10 days to see the MFM. And it was like the worst 10 days. I was so anxious. And of course I had Googled things and I came up with my own diagnosis of hypoplastic left heart syndrome, which it actually was, which I don't take any credit for that. I think I was just being, I don't know. I saw that on one of my Googles and I was like, oh, that's what it is. And same thing. I just knew that's what it was, but I didn't know what that meant. And I didn't know prognosis or anything. Like the internet was actually not very helpful. Like mean, sometimes it is, sometimes it isn't.
Yeah,
but
totally.
I feel like there was not a lot of information, I guess, about it. And I don't know if that's the case now. I haven't I should go back and Google search it and see. I don't know.
Yeah. I think there's more information and everything, but like 10 years ago, really, honestly, there was, it was still very, the internet was still kind of newish. There was a lot of things that were still being put up there. So,
so I'm sure there's a ton more information now, but do you want me to keep talking about the sequence of events kind of?
Yeah, that's perfect. Because I do want to know, because 10 days would drive me bonkers. I'd be like,
it was the
can we get in for an echo right away?
Yes. So we went to the MFM doctor and she did an echo and I'm trying to remember if my husband was there with me. I can't remember, but the feeling I had after that appointment was starkly different than the one with my OB, which is so funny because maybe it was just because the shock factor was like I had already received the diagnosis and that was like the biggest announcement. And I don't know, but she wasn't going to tell me anything that I didn't already kind of know. She was going to give me more info.
Yeah.
But I was already nervous. I was already anxious. And she actually reassured me and was like, this looks like, she called it a soft diagnosis of hypoplastic left heart syndrome. She said she was going to obviously refer us to the pediatric cardiology to get more details and a more in-depth scan and whatever, or echo. And but I remember feeling actually optimistic after that visit because she was like, HLHS has they've come a long way in their treatments, and there is a spectrum of severity, and his looks pretty mild. And, so after that appointment, I remember being like, oh, okay, I can do this.
Yeah.
It's just a heart problem, that they can
fix or we can deal with. And
I was so ignorant, I was so ignorant, and just okay, he'll just need a surgery. She didn't talk about treatment or anything, which I'm like, maybe I should have asked. I don't know, but I guess I didn't know to ask. And she didn't say prognosis or anything. Not that I remember really, but I just remember feeling a lot more positive after that.
Gotcha.
So between then and when we saw cardiology, I think it was another week or so. And that week was a lot better than the previous week, which looking back, I'm like, nothing was different, but and worrying doesn't do anything for you,
No, it doesn't. I mean,
so I'm like,
you feel like it does, but it doesn't.
Yeah. I mean, she gave me almost false hope. I don't fault her or anything. I'm not upset at her or anything. She's not the specialist, in hearts. And so I wasn't bitter or angry. She gave, but I'm like, maybe that was actually a gift because I wasn't
freaking
chomping
out
at the bit, freaking out all week waiting for my cardiology appointment,
Yeah.
And that was, I don't know, that's not good for anyone's body to be that anxious all the time, Right. And so a week later, we went to see cardiology, and that was a completely different visit. That's when reality really sunk in.
Okay. And so this is 22, 23 weeks.
Yes.
Would you say about then?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. And they said that actually they can see the heart best at about that age.
Oh, okay.
And so I would think they need to grow bigger to see all the, but I guess they said that was kind of the ideal time to do echoes and to see all the little details. And I'm like, oh, their little tiny heart. You can see the valves and I don't know how they do that, but I'm thankful there are people that do, So we got the referral to go up to Primary Children's in Salt Lake and to their heart clinic. And we, this day was so crazy because my husband and I had to drive separately because he was working.
Yep.
And so he was meeting me there. So I arrived before him, and my overall feeling when I got there was pretty calm. And I was just so, ignorant, looking back, I'm like, oh my gosh, she has no idea what's coming,
Yeah.
But I mean, you wouldn't. How would you know?
No, you wouldn't.
And so I was just this, I'm sure they were just oh, this poor girl, she thinks everything's going to be fine. And she's forgetting that she's at a cardiology clinic, and that's never a good thing, Rarely is it a minor problem. I don't know. I know there's a spectrum of issues, but anyway, so I remember going back to get the echo, and the fellow was doing the echo, and I remember was they had just gotten a new machine that day or the day before.
Okay.
And so everybody was kind of coming in and checking on it and trying to figure out the buttons and the things like that.
So you're you're they're just trying to figure it out. So
yeah. And I was just chit-chatting it up, nothing's happening and all is well. And I remember the doctor even coming in and saying, okay, do you notice this thing and whatever? And he's pointing at the screen, to the fellow. So he's trying to kind of teach him. And I remember hearing words like coarction and different things like that. And I remember from my Google searches, that is not a good word. That means the aorta's, small and whatever. So, but I still wasn't anxious. I was just I know that's one of the issues he has. And, I was just kind of listening and going along and whatever, just not unaware, I guess, of what was coming. And so finally they finished the echo. My husband wasn't there yet, but the doctor comes in and says, I'm going to assemble my team and I'll meet you in this room. And my brain was why do we need a team? What are you talking about?
team,
Team,
Why?
And okay. And so they all went into the room, they bring me back, and they kept asking me, like, is your husband close? Like, is he, and that's another bad sign I learned.
Yeah.
They're asking where the spouse is.
Yep.
And I'm like, he's parking. And then there were people literally waiting at the door for him. Like, to come. And so I'm like, oh, that's another bad sign. I should have, I remember noticing it and being like, they're just so nice. And, like, they're so,
yeah.
But, and they were nice, but I think they were just preparing, like they knew it was going to be, life-changing, literally. And so anyway, so my husband finally got there. I went into this room, and I'll never forget, like, the feeling was like so somber. Like, I walk in and, like, there's a social worker in there, and there's a nurse practitioner and someone else and the cardiologist. He's actually a fetal echo specialist. Like, he's like a super specialist of pediatric cardiology. Anyway. And, I remember just being like, these people are so nice to all be here to help,
tell me about,
like, if there's a social worker there, it's usually not a good sign either.
No.
And so I sat down with them. My husband comes in, and the doctor opens this binder with, like, a healthy heart and then a picture of art, like what a HLHS heart looks like, and started to explain the details of his condition. So his right side or his left side's underdeveloped. It's just something that happens, early on in pregnancy. And later on, I know we had some genetic testing done, and I mean, it was kind of contradicting the things that they were telling us. And I'd be actually curious to talk to one now, like 10 years. I'm sure there's been more research. To see, like, what they say about genetics and stuff. This is kind of going off, but just while I'm thinking about it. So we met with a geneticist, and I remember them saying, like, isn't necessarily genetic, but we do find that if you have more kids, you're more likely to have a baby with a heart defect. Okay. And I was like, how is that not genetic then?
I know. I was like, okay.
So I don't know. And maybe I misunderstood, but my husband and I were both like, what? Like, that doesn't make any sense. Not that it matters, but I mean, it does matter because I had more babies after, and thankfully the hearts are fine, but I did have to have echoes and stuff with them to make sure.
All of them. Yes.
Anyway, so where was I? The doctor was just explaining his situation. And I remember, like, it just kind of, like, slowly sunk in, like, everything from the appointment and the feeling that I had and the feeling in the room. And it was just kind of all like, I was just realizing, like, oh my gosh, like, this is way more serious than what I had originally thought. It's not just a little heart problem.
Heart something. Yeah.
Yeah. And he, honestly, I don't remember when in the conversation, but I had almost immediately after he told us the diagnosis, I had a strong feeling that mom got that crew wasn't supposed to be here long. And I just had that feeling, and it didn't make sense, but I just remember having that feeling and holding on to that. And so he kept telling us about, like, kind of the structure of the heart. And he explained how there's a spectrum of severity in hypoplastic left heart syndrome, which I didn't know that either. I thought it was just like, oh, you just haven't developed. But he was like, and it's like way beyond any of my understanding, because it's like little millimeter details, like, like, this valve is 1 millimeter underdeveloped, and this valve is non-existent, and this valve. And so, he told us a few things, like, he's missing this valve, and this valve is underdeveloped, and the aorta is, this big, and it's supposed to be this big, and it's, there's so many different components and factors that they take into account when I guess explaining the severity and things that, like I said, I don't understand. But he did explain a few things, like, for instance, he has this coarction here and he's missing this valve and this one's underdeveloped. And he said, because of all these things and a lot of other things that you wouldn't understand, he didn't say it in those terms, but kind of basically, like, he's like, his case is pretty severe. And which was different from the MFM doctor, what she had told me. And again, she's not a heart expert, so I'm not like bitter or angry at her, for that. But if anything, she gave me that week of peace. So I wasn't anxious before this appointment. But so reality was just kind of sinking in, and same reaction. Like, my husband's very quiet, wasn't talking. I don't know how long we talked to him. It was over an hour, though. It was a long time. And I was just asking question after question after question, and prognosis and treatment options and things like that. And he explained to us, even before he explained the treatment, is when I had that gut feeling, though, that he wasn't supposed to be here long.
Yeah.
And then he started going into our options. And number one was to terminate the pregnancy, which we didn't want to do.
Yeah.
And so that was off the table. And so our two options were comfort care and then palliative care. And neither of which obviously heal the problem. Right. So it's incurable. Like, eventually they have to have a transplant, which that brings a whole nother, like, lifetime of issues. Right. Anyway, so he first talked about comfort care and what that means. I hadn't heard of it. I didn't know what it was, but basically you just get to love your baby until they pass, and you bring them home on hospice. Mm-hmm. And he predicted, it's almost like he knew, he's done this before, but he was like, with your baby's severity, and I'm guessing that he'll live for about 2 weeks. And that's exactly, he lived for 2 weeks.
Oh, wow.
That's exactly how long. Yeah. That's kind of when that hole closes,
Mm-hmm.
in the heart. And then because these babies typically do well in the womb because their left side doesn't have to work.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to function. And so they actually grow fine in the womb and usually are born full term and, like, look normal and, and so comfort care was, you basically go home on hospice and you just treat them with, comfort medications to keep them comfortable and make memories and, until they eventually pass. And then the other option was a series of palliative surgeries, which he explained to us what palliative means, is that it doesn't mean that it's fixing the heart. It just meant they were replumbing the heart so that they were moving all the valves and the veins and the arteries to the right places so that the right side could do the job of the whole heart, which it wasn't built for.
It's not
made for. So it's not like a permanent option, right? Yeah. It's just a temporary fix to help them get to their next stage, which is transplant.
Yeah.
And that happens at so many different, like, every kid is so different in their, when that happens. A lot of them, he said, get so sick that they die before they can get a transplant. He told us, I don't know if you want me to share like the statistics and things like that.
No, that's great. I think this is good because so people understand that this is very complicated.
Okay. Yeah, it was. And so the first surgery they had, they're all 3 open heart surgeries. And the first one is at week 1 when they're a week old. And and he said, like, it's the most risky with, that makes sense. Like, they're a week old and the highest mortality rate. So he said a third of babies die after this first surgery. And then the second surgery takes place about between 3 to 6 months. And then the third open heart surgery happens between, I think, like 2 and 3 years, something like that.
Yeah.
I've heard different kids at different ages, but more or less that's kind of the range that they told us. And he said often they don't go home between that first and second surgery. They're just in the cardiac ICU for those 6 months. And then they, until they're well enough to get that second surgery. And, and then he told us that, I think he said 40% of kids die before age 5 with HLHS.
Yeah.
Just from complications and things like that.
Yeah.
And then he said, if they survive the 3 surgeries, like they have these really medically complicated lives with doctor visits, medications, and the way he explained it was just, it makes sense, but he said every system of the body is affected by your heart because everything needs oxygen, right? And that's what your heart is doing, is pumping blood, which carries oxygen and other nutrients and things to your whole entire body. And so those surgeries, it's like a series, like I can't remember what they're called now. I used to know, but each one has like a different name. And the first one kind of starts the process, and then the second surgery kind of completes that one, and anyway, it's just like a series of open heart surgeries. And then, like I said, by the end, the right side is pumping blood to the brain and
everywhere else,
and the lungs and the whole body, which isn't what it was meant for. And so he said that
puts so much strain on the heart.
Yeah. And so the life expectancy, like best case scenario, is like 20s. He said, like early 20s. And that's if they survive everything all that before that, And then, like, as far as quality of life goes, he talked about how, like I said, every system of the body is affected by your heart. Mm-hmm. And so he said that means they have liver problems, they have cognitive deficits, they have kidney problems, they have GI problems, like every system. And I was like, okay, how many of them have liver issues? And he said 100% of them have liver issues, And then he said a lot of them can't mainstream because they have, in school, because they have cognitive disabilities that make it tricky and challenging. I do want to say, like, I want to be sensitive to parents who do choose this route, because I 100% recognize that, like, every kid is different, right? Yeah. And every kid's journey is meant to be different, and family, like, there's so many factors to consider.
Exactly.
And so I don't feel, like one way or the other, if someone's in this situation where they're trying to decide what to do, like, like either option is bad, right?
It is hard. Yes, exactly. And I'm just being put into that situation of just like, what do we want our kids' life to look like? And that's hard because you want to try and do the best thing for them. And
you want them here. Like, I want my child here.
Yeah.
So why would I not do everything possible to try and keep him here? But I just kept going back to that gut feeling, that he wasn't supposed to be here long. Otherwise, if I wouldn't have had that gut feeling, I probably would have gone the surgery route.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Like, it was that strong of an impression that I couldn't deny it, And so after that visit, we were in shock, to say the least.
Yeah.
And I still don't know how I got home. I'm like, that was probably really dangerous of me to drive home after that.
Yeah. I was so distracted.
Yes. And I was alone because we drove separate, And so that was so silly. Why didn't I, like, call someone to come pick me up? I don't know. But I also am, like, a really private griever.
Yeah.
So I like to cry alone,
Yeah.
And so I don't know. That's probably just like a weakness. And, like, I don't like to be vulnerable in front of people, which nobody does really. So I remember, like, going out in the parking garage after, and, like, my husband and I were both crying, and I'm trying to remember kind of how the visit ended. I think the doctor was like, you don't have to decide now. You can take time to decide, because, like I said, they do well in the womb.
Yeah.
And it's not like, oh, we have to decide, because he's like, you could decide one way and then change your mind the day he's born, And he's like, you're going to need to decide, like, where to have him. And obviously that part of that depended on our decision.
Right.
If we were going to go surgery route, then we would deliver at the U because they have the little window that you send the baby through, the little to-go window.
Yep. That's basically what it is. They swoop them off and you're just okay, there they go.
So we kind of had to, those were decisions we kind of had to decide later, but that gut feeling, like I just couldn't deny it, and my husband and I, when we went out in the parking garage after, like I said, we were both in shock and just sobbing and so sad. And my husband said, "What are you leaning more towards?" And I said, "I'm leaning more towards comfort care." And he said, "Really? I'm leaning more towards surgery."
Okay.
And I was like, okay, we don't have to decide now. It's fine. Let's just keep thinking about it, So like I said, we drove home. I don't know how we got home. But this is funny because my mom was in town for some reason. I think it was because it was around the 4th of July and she likes to come to Utah for the 4th of July.
Yeah.
And she was babysitting my kids. And I remember her asking me how it went. And I don't think anyone realized what the possibilities were or the severity of the situation. You know what I mean? So when I told her, she was also shocked. She was just like, oh, I didn't realize it was this serious. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then it's kind of funny because the things you do and the things you remember, I remember we went to Costco afterwards. Why? I don't know. It's so silly.
No, but at the same time, you're you got to do normal stuff too.
You got to do normal stuff. You got to go get the food, we're going to starve. So we got to get food.
Yeah.
And so we went to Costco and I actually remember seeing there was a rainbow in the sky on our way to Costco. And I remember just feeling like that was just kind of a reassurance to me, a small little feeling of it's going to be okay, and I'm so grateful for those because the pain that you and the emotions that you feel and go through, it's so nice to be able to go back to those little moments of peace where you can just kind of hang on to that, and it makes the pain not so sharp, I guess, or I don't know how to describe it, but it just kind of softens the blow a little, And so that was a huge blessing to me. And so then after that's kind of a blur. I remember my husband and I we're both religious. And so we were praying and what should we do? And we talked to, I know some people after they get a diagnosis or something, they are kind of in denial, and I never went through that. I always was I 100% accepted the diagnosis. I don't know why. I don't know why, but I never questioned the doctor. I never was oh no, let's get a second opinion. I don't really, and I actually remember the doctor saying to me, cause maybe the questions I was asking made it seem like I was doubting him or something.
Oh.
But I remember him looking at me and saying, we're not wrong. And I was oh, okay. I don't think you are.
Yeah.
But okay.
Okay.
It's pretty objective. Either there's a half of the heart. It's not there.
Yeah.
The
vessel is not there or is very small. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. He could show me on, this is the right side of the heart. This is what a healthy one looks like. This is the size of your left ventricle or whatever. And it should be this big, whatever. So I believed him. It wasn't I was doubting, but we did talk to another pediatric cardiologist just for to get his opinion.
Yes, which is good. I think that is good.
Yeah.
This is a big deal.
Yeah. And it wasn't even do you think this diagnosis is accurate? It was more options.
Can you give us some guidance on what
you would, and I actually asked the first cardiologist, I asked him what he would do. I said, if this was your child, what would you do? And he said, I would choose comfort care. And I was wow, he didn't hesitate. And I was that is so interesting coming from somebody, a heart doctor, And I actually talked to this other pediatric cardiologist, also worked at Primary Children's, but he was kind of a friend of a family member type of thing, you know, kind of down the line, that someone had kind of connected us with him and was like, get his opinion, because he works in the SICU at primaries. And so I talked to him a couple times, and he was really helpful, and said, you know, I looked at his, you know, everything, you know, like, I agree with everything the doctor said, like, which I wasn't looking, like I said, I wasn't looking for a different diagnosis or even a different prognosis. I was just, I don't know, just another opinion. I don't know. And he gave us some really good advice as well. I asked him the same question. I said, what would you do if it was your kid? And he said, you know, these are the kids I see all day, every day.
Yeah.
And he said, surgery would be a really hard sell for me. And that was his response. And I was like, that's so interesting, you know?
Yeah.
And then he also said, and I thought this was probably the most important thing, he said the couples that do the best in these situations, it actually doesn't matter what choice you pick. He said the couples that do the best are the ones that are just unified in their choice.
Regardless of what they decide on.
Yeah. So he's like, if you choose surgery, if you choose comfort care, you know, he's like, it doesn't really matter as long as you and your husband are in agreement. And those are the families that do the best.
Yeah.
Moving forward. And I thought that was such great advice.
Yeah. That is so interesting.
Yeah.
That you would say that.
Yeah. I thought so too. And, in the meantime, like, my husband and I are still like praying about it. I never went back on that gut feeling. Mm-hmm. I just like knew that's what I had to do, you know? And I don't know why, but I tend to make decisions very quickly, and maybe because I'm impulsive and I don't know, but I actually was really grateful for that, because that's something that I go back to.
Yeah.
Even 10 years out, like, I can go back to that feeling, even when, you know, and that same cardiologist, like, he kind of warned us. He said, you're going to be on the soccer field in 8 or 10 years, and there's going to be a kid out there with HLHS. And, you know, he's like, it's going to be hard, you know, but he's like, remember that, you know, your miracle might be different, you know, than theirs, you know, and that has literally happened to me. Yeah. I'm like, it's like he knew something, you know, where, you know, you hear this kid that's like on your kid's soccer team or whatever, basketball, you know, and you're just like, oh, like, you're so happy for them, but it is painful too.
Totally. Yeah.
You know? So I like try to be really careful, because I like I said, like, I don't fault anybody for going either route, you know? It's like, whatever you feel like is right for your kid, you know? So I don't want to give advice on like what route to take. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
But
because
I did.
It really is on the family.
Just so different. Yeah.
Yeah.
And based on even their deficiencies, you know, like, my doctor was saying, like, kids that have this valve and not this valve don't do as well as the ones that, you know what I mean? Like, they fare better in their open heart surgeries than the ones that have this deficit and this problem. You know what I mean? This specific problem. And so, so he also did advise it. You know, he said with Crew's specific deficits, I don't anticipate he would do super well with the surgeries.
Anyway, okay.
Yes, because of his specific things, you know. So all those things considered, after a couple weeks, my husband had come to the same conclusion as me. And he was like, I just feel like if we try to keep him here, it will be a selfish decision on our part, you know. And it was like so hard to come to that decision, because like I said, like, who doesn't want their baby here?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Like, why would you not like fight for him, you know? And I actually had a really amazing hospice nurse tell me, like, and I was like kind of struggling with these feelings like while he was alive. Sorry, I'm jumping a little bit, but she said this was really helpful. And I think it's important for parents to hear, like, no matter what you choose, like you're choosing something for your kid, like comfort care. And the nurse, I think like her exact words were like, comfort care is not nothing.
Yes.
You know, it's not that you're doing nothing. You are doing something for your baby. And that was very reassuring to me. Like, I'm not just like sitting here and waiting for him to die. You know, it's like, no, this was what we felt we were supposed to do. This was what we felt was the purpose of Crew's life. And, you know, anyway, so that was really helpful for me to hear that. I think we met with the cardiologist one more time before his birth, and it was kind of just to confirm things. It wasn't really, I mean, he said like, we don't need to do another echo. The left side keeps shrinking. In utero. And that's exactly what happened. Like we went and got another echo. It was smaller. It was, you know, and at that time we had decided on comfort care. So I was able to tell him our decision, and, you know, he was supportive and just said, you can change your mind. Like, don't feel like you're locked in until he's born, you know? And I think at that point I was probably 28 weeks or something ish. You know, that we went and saw cardiology again. But in the meantime, I think I went and saw MFM another time or two, but I just met with my OBGYN and he was so great. He was like, I want to see you. You know, he's like, I want to be the one to care for you, you know? And I think it was just like, I don't know. He was just like, he just like wanted to care for us, you know, like it was really sweet. And at least that's kind of how I viewed it. And I kind of was, I went back and forth on like where to deliver, you know, because I was like, I feel like, because I knew what was going to happen after birth. Not exactly, but I knew he wasn't going to live very long. And I was like, I don't know if my local hospital is like, you know,
would be up for it. I mean, like, because it's a lot.
Yeah. So I was like, I don't know if they're, you know, prepared for that or have the resources or whatever. So maybe I'll go up to the U, and I know they deal with that more. And, you know, then we can kind of, you know, change our minds at the last minute if we want to, you know, type of thing too. But as time went on, like my OBGYN was, and he did not say this, he was really careful, but on my own, I had just kind of a moment where I just changed my mind all of a sudden. I was just like, nope, you know what? I think we're just going to deliver at our local hospital. I don't think there's a reason for me to go to Salt Lake. And, you know, like we can just deliver here, you know? And my OB, when I told him that, he was so happy because he's like, I feel so much better about that because this is your 4th C-section too.
Yes.
So we kind of have to consider that. He had delivered my daughter. So my first 2 were with a different doctor. So he delivered my daughter and then my other. So my last 4 C-sections he delivered. So I had 6 C-sections total and he did 4 of them. And he just was like, I want to be there. You know, he was like, if you're sewn up and then they're like, you can't have any more kids or whatever, he's going to be like, why not? Like because with C-sections, often they can't tell until they get inside and like see things, you know? And so, anyway, we came up with a plan. We all just felt good about it. You know, like he felt comfortable with it. We felt good about it. I felt good about being local, you know, just staying here and yeah. So I don't know.
So let me just back up for everybody. April lives in, she lives probably, I don't even know. I think we're probably about 50 minutes away from each other. I live close to the university, where the university hospital is. Like I'm just like 20 minutes away. And so, but for you to have to deliver up here, that would have been what, an hour or something like that?
It's probably 45 minutes to an hour. Yeah. From here.
So just knowing that, like, even distance wise, that's like a little bit of it's different.
Like a little drive. Yeah.
It's a little bit of a drive and a little bit harder to have visitors or, you know, there's just a lot more kind of moving parts. So like the fact that you decided on doing it locally is, I mean, I think that's kind of nice for even for your family with the decision you guys made. So
totally.
Yeah. Okay. And that's kind of cool too that your doctor was like, I like this idea, because then he's trying to take care of you and long term too. Like,
yes,
and
we're thinking future too, even though you don't.
Yes.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Just so many things to consider,
Did he end up, obviously then, did you guys figure out a date, a C-section date on the schedule?
Yeah.
Okay.
So there was kind of a happy medium where I delivered him at 37 weeks.
Okay.
And my doctor was like, we want, it was kind of this like sweet spot where like you wanted him to live as long as possible.
Yes.
And so it was kind of this like, like we want him to be healthy when he's born.
So you can spend as much time with him.
So we can spend as much time. So we decided on 37 weeks and we felt good about that. And he was a good size and everything. So it worked out that way. Yeah.
Okay. I forgot to ask this. I know that you guys found out that he was a boy kind of early on. Mm-hmm. Did you guys have his name already chosen out that early on?
So we did before he was born, definitely. I don't remember at what point in the pregnancy we like had confirmed it, but I know we had like a few names we were kind of tossing around, and we'd like call him that name for a while, and then whatever. And then I came across the name Crew, I don't know, probably in my last trimester. So, and it just like fit so well.
Yeah.
Like just thinking about like the symbolism of like a crew, like a rowing team, you know what I mean? And it just like was really sweet, like, and tender to think of like our family as like a team, and he was part of it. And you know what I mean? So it was kind of like, I like the name, number one, but then like the meaning of it was like kind of sweet, So yeah.
Very cool. Yeah, that is so cool. And then is Benjamin a family name or?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, Benjamin's my brother's name. So
awesome. Okay.
Yeah.
Love family names. So
yes.
But that is cool. Okay. So you guys were sort of starting to call him Crew maybe after a while.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Did you, after you guys got the prognosis and then also making the decisions on comfort care, did you tell your kids, did you tell your family what the plan was?
Yeah, we did. We told everyone like I think it was pretty soon after. Mm-hmm. And I mean, our family was awesome, like everybody just like, as soon as they hear about something, like everybody comes together and prays for you and wonders how they can help and, all the things. And, most people are supportive. And I mean, I feel like everyone's supportive in their way, know?
Yeah.
And sometimes it can come across like we had one close family member that didn't really agree with our decision.
Oh.
And she had a really hard time with it.
Yeah.
And which I understand, like, especially, especially like being this far removed, like it's not emotional for me anymore. Like at the time it was kind of hard, but now I'm like, I get that. And, like I would probably question too, like, are you sure? Like, and then especially after he was born, she had a really hard time and would send us these articles about like, different hospital. Like, have you looked at CHOP? Have you looked at, all these different, and I'm like, yes, we've looked at Boston. We looked into all of this, and I actually had a friend who went through the same thing 12 years before us. And she had like a really similar experience with one of her family members. And so I was really grateful that she had kind of prepared me for that. She just said, there might be people who disagree with your choice, and that's okay. Like they're coming from a place of love. And especially now, I'm like, it's just because she loves Crew.
Yeah.
Like nobody wants a baby to die.
Yeah.
No.
Like,
so it was just like, it's out of love, but my husband did have to tell her eventually, like, please stop sending us those because we already made our decision and it's hard enough, And so boundaries are important.
Yes, they are.
Right?
Yeah.
Boundaries are a form of love, you know?
Yes.
Anyway, so that's just kind of a side note, but
yeah. That's yes, it's in their own. I like how you said that they cared for you in their own way, and and it can be clunky at times.
Yeah.
and,
totally.
And that, but there's love behind it, right?
Totally.
Yeah. Oh, so this is what I'm thinking. You have made the decision that it's going to be comfort care. There's a good chance that he's going to pass away in a couple of weeks, and did that social worker start talking to you about what you're going to do with his body and what you guys, was that a thing that you guys started planning for also?
Yeah. And kind of like I said before, like I'm a planner, but this is where it gets like really hard and messy, was like trying to grieve someone before they're even born, like grieve the loss of them before they're even born, I can't remember what it's called now. It's like anticipatory grief, I think.
Yep.
Right. And I remember thinking like, I wonder if I just, and this is so silly, but I remember thinking like, if I can just like get all my grief out now, then I'll be fine.
Then I'll be fine, and then
born.
I can handle it. Yeah,
I can handle it, and I won't be as sad after, know. And it's so silly, but I hadn't been through anything like this, and I was afraid of the pain. I was so afraid of the pain, and you can't anticipate the pain. I mean, I was anticipating the pain, but I didn't know what it would feel like and how I would survive, And so it was really hard because I remember talking to my husband saying, as a planner, I would like to have all the logistical things in place before he's born so we can just like enjoy him here and not have to worry about burial plots and caskets and all the things like that. And I just wanted to get it over with. I was like, I want to check that box and move forward.
Yes,
maybe that's a form of denial, just like it's not here. It's not going to happen. It's whatever, And I mean, I don't know how much to share about like our experience with our funeral home because it was pretty negative. And I hesitate sharing just because like 95% of people have such a positive experience with their funeral home. So I don't want to like make people worried or nervous. It's like a really special field where most people are like, the majority of people are so good. Compassionate, and like you have to be such a special person to go into that.
I agree.
You know what I mean?
Totally. Takes a special person that is.
It really does.
Willing to handle all of that grief, and
it's so heavy, and to be able to, I don't know, like feel for people and show compassion, and like while living their own lives and going through their own hard things, and anyway. So I don't want to like talk badly about funeral homes in general. I think we just, and even I will just give them the benefit of the doubt that it was just like two of the people there that we struggled with.
Okay.
And unfortunately he was assigned to our team,
Okay.
And so, but other people that have been to this funeral home have had a good experience. You know what I mean? So that's fine. Like I'm like trying to be careful, but that was something that complicated this process. Like it didn't. Not that it's easy. It's not easy anyways. But
it would be nice if there was a little bit more compassion or like
yes
tenderness on their part.
Yes, totally. And I remember like we decided one day, we're like, okay, we're going to go pick out plots and we're going to go pick out a casket. Like, let's go talk to the funeral home. And I'm sure they don't get that very much, people coming in and saying like, someone's going to die.
Yes.
Usually it's like someone already died. Can you come help us?
Yeah.
And so I'm sure it was a unique situation, but he was just like very unprofessional and also I just felt, I mean, how could you, I just felt sick to my stomach because I'm pregnant, and I'm shopping for a casket.
Yes.
Like it was the worst feeling, because like I'm supposed to be shopping for a stroller, not a casket, And he just like opened this closet and was like, here's our caskets here. Just kind of like I'm out buying a car or something, It was like, here's your options. It was so like nonchalant, like very it was really traumatizing.
Yeah.
As it already, but just the way it was handled was really hard. And so we actually ended up, I wish I would have known, and people should know this, that you can go to a different funeral home.
Yes, you can.
Yes, you can. I didn't know that. And I didn't think of that, like I wish I would have just been like, okay, this wasn't a good experience. Let's go to a different one. No big deal, and we didn't. We just stuck with them. And I remember him saying something like, if you do the funeral on a weekday, like my staff are going to be around more than if you do it on a weekend. I don't know. It was just really like casual and
yes.
Like business, like, instead of like, I'm so sorry about the situation that you're in. Like, that's terrible, to like be anticipating this, what's supposed to be this like wonderful, exciting, happy event. And it is, but then you know it's coming, and you're anticipating this like grief, Anyway, so it was just that complicated the situation a lot. But thankfully, so we kind of made the funeral home aware of our situation, and there wasn't much they could do at that point. It was just kind of like okay, well, call us when he dies.
Yeah.
Not to make it sound casual, but that's kind of what it is. He was like, we can't really do much now, which I understand that, So and then we went to our cemetery and we picked out plots, which was really hard.
Oh, yeah.
And, but I felt good that those things were done.
Yes.
I was just like, okay, I can push those things out of the way and focus on Crew when he's born, I'm sure, you guys have talked about this, how men and women grieve differently. And my husband's very much like what's the word? Like a active griever. Like he wanted to like do things for Crew.
Yes.
Like,
yes.
He wanted to like choose the headstone and choose the casket. And I was like, no, I don't want to think about those things, So I literally put my husband on that. I was like,
good.
You do that. And he was not happy, but he
felt like he was making a choice for his son.
Yes. He felt like he was doing something for Crew.
Yeah.
And so that was something loving he could do for Crew, where I was like, I don't want to think about it. I can't, but we did pick out plots, and we did go to the headstone place and kind of like got an idea of what we wanted to do, sort of. And like I said, I just wanted the logistics out of the way. We planned his funeral pretty much beforehand.
Isn't that so weird?
It is so weird. It's so weird. Like, you're not even born and I'm planning your funeral, It was heartbreaking, but I just wanted it done. Like, I wanted it to be over, and not his life, but the logistical things that are just too painful to think about, And my husband actually had a really nice friend from his hometown who donated a casket for us, which was so nice. Yeah. So he had like, you don't have to include this because it's kind of weird and morbid to some people, but he had shipped it to us. And I told my husband, like, I didn't want to see it. I didn't want to.
Yeah.
And so he like stored it in our like shed. In the meantime, like, I'm glad I didn't know that until after, because I don't know, just thinking about it, like, that's so messed up.
This entire situation is just so messed up in general. When you're like, why am I planning a baby funeral? This is not right.
And he's not right. Born. I know. It was so hard. Anyway, so where do we go from here?
So you're so you're planning. So you've done that, all of those things. You have your date for your C-section. Which what day was that?
September 29th, 2016. Yeah.
Okay. And and you decided you'll deliver locally, which is which is great. And then were they planning on just kind of setting up the comfort care after he was born, right?
Yeah. So I remember the hospital calling me like pretty soon, like right before he was going to be born, and kind of asking me like our preferences, like DNR type of situation. And I remember being like, because some of them don't, some of them die pretty soon after birth, you know, like it was just like, we didn't know what was going to happen.
Yeah.
And so how do you make that decision? Like, they were like, do you want just, you know, do you want oxygen if he's having a hard time breathing? Do you want us to resuscitate him if he stops breathing? Do you want us to intubate? You know, like
all of the things.
The things. And I was like, I don't know. Like, I don't know. Like, how do I decide that? You know? And so I honestly don't remember what I signed or what I said. I think I just was like, I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what to do. Can we just wait and see, you know, the situation? But he did end up needing a little bit of oxygen after he was born.
Okay.
And then he did okay after. But yeah, I don't know if you want me to talk about the birth story.
Yes. Yeah, okay. I would love that. So once one thing I did want to circle back is when you told your kids, did you?
Oh, yeah. It's terrible. It was so hard, you know, because like they already can't.
Yeah.
Comprehend.
They're so little.
Yeah. And like my 7-year-old, like this was the hardest thing for him, I think, because he's the one that wrote the poem, by the way. He understands enough, you know, and clearly he understood more than I thought, you know?
Yeah.
And he, I remember him like praying for Crew's heart to be healed, you know? And I like couldn't ever, because we did tell them, we told them like Crew has, you know, he has problems with his heart and he's not going to live very long after he's born, you know? And so we did talk about it. And I had amazing, like have you heard of Angel Watch?
No, I haven't.
Haven't? Oh my gosh. They're an Intermountain service and they provide free services for families that receive a fatal diagnosis in utero.
Oh.
For, I think, 1.5 years after birth. So before birth up to like 18 months after. And they provide like kind of like counseling services and help you with like logistical things and, you know, like finding a funeral home or helping plan the funeral or things like that. And so the social worker from the cardiologist, actually, she's the one that connected me with them.
Okay.
And they were a huge help for me, just throughout my pregnancy and then afterwards. And even like, just like 2 weeks ago, like I went to one of their retirement parties, you know, and like, I just love them so much, you know, and, so it was so neat to like see her and it was special for them too, I think, because they said that they don't usually the families that they help, the babies die before birth or soon after. So they don't get to meet the babies.
Yeah.
And so they got to meet Crew and hold him. And so that was like really special for them. And I don't remember where I was going with that.
But did they help with counseling with your kids?
Yes. They helped me. They gave us so many good tips as far as, I mean, just having, I mean, you name it, like the advice they gave was like so helpful and valuable. It was like, you know, they would always say like, be kind to yourself, you know, be compassionate with yourself. You're going through something really hard. And anyway, lots of advice for me, but then also they would give us advice for how to help our kids deal with it and process things. And one of the things they suggested was like creating a bucket list for Crew. And so we did that. And they said, you know, a lot of families don't get to have them live very long. And so a lot of them do them while the baby's in utero, you know, and so they go to the zoo or they, you know, and they have their kids make a list of things they want to do with the baby, you know. And so we did that and we did some things before he was born because we didn't know what was going to happen. And then we also made a list for after he was born. Like we wanted to have my daughter, you know, she was 1.5. She wanted to take him down the slide and my boys like wanted to jump on the trampoline with him and very carefully, you know, my husband was like holding him. Like I have the cutest video of them like jumping on the trampoline,
oh my gosh.
You know, and my daughter going down the slide and we're big BYU fans. And so they wanted to go to the bookstore and my husband wanted to watch a BYU football game with him, and he got to, and I wanted to have a birthday party with him, like a 1 week birthday party, which we did. And we had like a little birthday party, and I'm trying to think some of the other things, but we were able to make the bucket list before.
Yes.
So we did. We went to the zoo one time, took a picture of my belly with the kids, and, like we're taking crew to the zoo. And, it was just fun to be able to, and we still talk about the memories that we made with crew,
Yeah.
So that was really good advice, I felt like.
Yes, that is so sweet. Like, just to think about the time you guys spent together, like happy memories, basically. Because you don't sometimes, everything can be kind of tainted with like, this is so sad. And then, but how fun is that? Like, how cute is that?
Yeah. So, I remember another one. My son wanted to read a book to him. And so we have this cutest picture of my 7-year-old, like reading to him, and Cruz, like looking at it, like it's the sweetest picture. Like he's like intently listening, to him reading his book. And I don't even remember what he's reading, probably Harry Potter or something, but anyway, it's so cute. So that was really helpful advice. I felt like,
that is amazing.
Something I wouldn't have thought of, like I wouldn't have thought of that myself, So.
That's an excellent piece of advice. So, okay, so then let's go back to the day that he was born and how that transpired.
Okay, so I don't remember what time we got up, but usually C-sections are really early because they're before the doctor goes into their clinic, for their regular appointments. So I think it was, like 5 or something that we got up, and I'm sure I didn't sleep the night before. Actually, this is really funny because and dumb, because the day before I decided to paint my cabinets in my kitchen the day before. And so this is like nesting at its like
totally
like highest point.
Is so funny.
I know. And I look back and I'm like, what was I thinking? And I like asked my husband, I'm like, why didn't you just say no? This is crazy. But he's like, you were insistent. And I wasn't going to tell you no, a pregnant lady no. And, so we took all the cabinets off my kitchen cabinets and we're like stripping, the finished, and I don't know why, but I guess it gave us something to do before and after, It's so silly.
That is so funny.
It is so funny. So anyway, we went in the next day to have him, and it was me and my husband, and then my sister had my little kids, and they came and met him like soon after he was born. The birth was, my doctor told me that it was actually really complicated. And I'm usually pretty out of it with my C-sections. I'm not really, I'm awake, but not really with it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
I just feel really foggy and incoherent. I don't know. And so I wasn't, I'm sure, making sense, or I don't know. But the doctor told me later, he was like, that was actually a really difficult birth. And I don't know why. But he said it was really hard to get him out. And anyway, I don't know if it was part of his condition or it was just his positioning. I'm not sure why. I should ask him. But anyway, he was born. And then I do remember for maybe, I was still kind of coming out of it, but I do remember, and my husband has told me these things too, since like maybe an hour after birth, he did have a hard time breathing. And they did put some oxygen on him just to help him be comfortable. But it was really scary for a while because it was like, is this it? Like, what's going to happen? You know what I mean? Like, it was really like, do we intervene? Do we, like, how much do we intervene? It was so hard. And I wasn't completely there, but I do remember still feeling like really anxious and like not like unsure of what to do, and thankfully my husband, he helped and obviously made decisions, and it was good. Like it ended up being great because they kind of got him stable. He didn't need major interventions, but he did need a little oxygen. And then we went to recovery, and I got to hold him, and I don't remember if I do remember seeing him right after birth. I have a picture of him, with with the thing, and they put him by your head.
Yeah, yeah.
So sweet. And so I got to hold him like soon after in recovery. And as I started to come to more, and people started coming to visit, and my mom came, and my parents had actually just gone through a recent divorce, so that was kind of a tricky dynamic.
Yeah.
But my mom was there, and my grandma. I think my husband's parents were there pretty soon after birth. And then we chose to bless him, I think the next day.
Okay.
Maybe it was the day of. I think it was the day of.
Okay.
And so we had so many family members. Like the whole room was full. And it was so special. And I have a video. Of a fan, like a nurse was putting a fan on me because I was so hot.
Because there's so many people there.
There were so many people in the room, and I'm sure I was anxious. You just feel, how you just feel gross, and the situation was already very tender, and I felt really good. I was excited to meet him, and I was excited everyone was meeting him and stuff, but it was just a lot.
Yeah.
And so I have this fan blowing on me because I was so hot. I was just oh my gosh, it's so hot in here. But a good problem to have, so many supportive family members, and they came, and my husband gave them this beautiful blessing, and it was really sweet. We got tons of pictures, and I actually had a friend who's a photographer. She came and took hundreds of pictures, which when I listen to your podcast, I'm I don't think I realize what a treasure that is, because a lot of people have one or two or none or a handful of pictures of their baby. And we have over 1,000.
Yeah. Oh, that's wonderful. That is wonderful.
She came, and we had an appointment set up for a couple days after, at home. She was going to come to my house, but because we didn't know what was going to happen, she's I'll come to the hospital too.
Just in case.
We'll take pictures there too. So we have family pictures in the hospital with every one of my kids, and with crew, and it was just, it was so sweet. And she took pictures of every piece of him, and Share Parents of Utah came in, they came in and did cut a little piece of his hair that I still have, and then they did the molds of his hands and his feet. But it's trickier when they're alive because they're wiggly.
They're wiggly. Yeah.
So I remember them being oh, I'm not used to doing a live baby, And so that was really sweet, and I treasure those. I've had them. I have them in my closet in my little crew box, and a photo album of him, and so we were only there for, I think, a day. My OB came and cleared me really quickly
after a C-section. Oh my goodness. Okay.
And this was my fourth, so
you're familiar with.
I was familiar. I knew what to look for. I wasn't bleeding. My bleeding had stopped pretty. I am thankful that my C-sections are relatively easy.
Okay.
As far as recovery goes. Now, I don't know what to compare it to, but I do okay with them, So, and my doctor was we want to get you home. You want to make memories at home, and I wanted to go home. And so he's obviously,
Let's
call if you have any issues or whatever, which I didn't, thankfully, Yeah. So the birthday was really sweet and full of, it was just kind of a whirlwind because it was kind of
how much time? I would be thinking, how much time?
Totally. It was just like that. Every day was is today the day? What's going to happen? I don't know.
Yeah, you just don't know.
So that was kind of tricky to, work through those feelings.
I do want to know how big he was and what he looks like and everything. Cause it sounds like he had enough hair in order to get a lock of it.
Yes, he was 8 pounds, 3 ounces.
Yep.
And he was 37 weeks. So I'm he would
have been big.
He would have been huge,
Yeah.
And I don't know if that's water retention from the heart problem.
Yeah.
I don't No, I know, like, I remember cardiology pointing out a couple things that I wouldn't have, and the hospice nurse and things like that, that I wouldn't have noticed otherwise. But maybe this is important for parents to hear. He had the head wobble when he breathed.
Okay.
Like he would be, when you're holding a baby and they're breathing and his head would move because his heart was working so hard. I didn't know that was abnormal, I mean, we knew of his condition and we had that family friend cardiologist. He came over and actually saw him at my house. He came and he held him and he's like, yep, he has the head wobble and look at his little swollen hands and feet from water retention and like fluid retention. And anyway, he pointed out a few things that I was like, oh, I wouldn't have even known that was abnormal, and he had a little bit of discoloring on his extremities, but not bad. Like a lot of newborns kind of have like,
they're kind of just a little,
they get, a little purple or whatever when they're cold or whatever, before their circulation gets, going or whatever. But, so those were a couple of things. I'm trying to remember just like the day to day after he was born.
Yeah.
It was just fun. It was like, we just would wake up and be like, what are we going to do today? You know? And let's go to the BYU bookstore. So one day I was like a week postpartum, so I could barely walk, but
I know.
He's fine. You have your diaper and you're just like, okay,
no
this is
deal.
great. This is great. This is embarrassing, but it's great. We're going to do this, make the memory, right? Like that's what you learn from one of the lessons you learn is like, make the memory. Like who cares about the other things, So we did. We had lots of visitors, lots of people come over. I had lots of siblings come into town to meet him. And my husband's family would come over and he got to meet some great grandparents and friends of ours and neighbors and just so many people that got to come and love him and see him and meet him and pictures with all of them, like it was really
that's so great. So great.
Yeah. So that was really positive,
And then you did say that you had his 1 week birthday party?
We did. We had a little 1 week birthday party. We made cupcakes and my kids like made signs and I kept the sign, like we've moved since, but I kept that sign, like one of the happy birthday signs on my front door for like years,
you're like forever.
Yeah, seriously. Like, and I think I put it in his box. I think I saved the birthday sign because it was like one of my kids had drawn like little stick figures on it of crew and like, I don't know.
So cute.
Yeah, just sweet, So that was fun.
Like, I just love the bucket list idea too that you guys did. I just think that is so sweet.
Yeah.
How was he doing on a day-to-day basis with his like oxygen? Were you noticing anything?
Oh yeah.
With his like, even with the hospice nurse coming in to check on things?
So we had the hospice nurse. She was coming daily for a while. And I did have a very wise pediatrician. Maybe this is helpful for people to hear too. She said, make sure you request a pediatric hospice nurse because they're
specialized.
Thankfully specialized and there's not very many of them because thankfully usually it's older people that they're caring for, right? Which hard field, but anyway, so someone did recommend that. And so we were able to find a pediatric hospice nurse and she was awesome. Again, another special breed of people, right? To work in that field. Just so compassionate and so sweet. And she would come every day, listen to his heart. And she's like, he sounds great. He is doing so well. Like, to answer your question, he looked great. Like you'd look at it and be like,
you're like, normal baby.
That's a normal baby, like chubby cheeks and all this dark hair and just look normal, just like happy. And he was like, I chose not to breastfeed because I didn't want to deal with that after he died, the drying up, like I didn't want to like be dealing with that after, so I chose just to bottle feed him. And so, I mean, he ate like a newborn.
Great.
He barely cried, but he cried occasionally when he was hungry. And, so it's kind of like hard for your brain to wrap around what was about to happen, you know, because it felt very familiar and normal. Like
just a normal baby.
Born, yeah. And would wake up in the night and, you know, whatever, like, and want to be held. And we swaddled him and, you know what I mean? And gave him baths and just like a newborn, you know. And he started to decline not until, I want to say, maybe the day before.
Oh.
Yeah.
So
the day
he was
before.
doing really good.
So he was doing really well. And she would come and listen for the hole, you know, in his heart and making sure, I mean, as soon as that closed is when they start to decline. And so she would listen for that, check all his vitals and everything. And I don't remember at what point we got like the hospice medications, but I know like they gave us like the morphine and is it lorazepam? I can't remember the other.
Yeah.
It's like probably. The two. So they gave us the two meds and just said, you know, these are for when he starts kind of having labored breathing and things like that. And that was another really scary thing for me because I was like, I don't know when or how, like, what do we do?
To expect,
like, and when do we do this? Like, I don't want to like medicate him too early. I don't want to wait till he's miserable. You know what I mean? So it was a really tricky thing to navigate, but I'm thankful my husband was there because he, again, the calming presence and and able to just, you know, think logically. And then we obviously had our pediatrician and the hospice nurse, you know, that they talk to the hospice doctor, right?
Gotcha. Like, okay, so they can
to them, and they like update them on their patients, and this is how he is, and this is, you know, what's the next stage and whatever. Anyway, they have the doctor to refer to, I guess, and so I do remember like my brother coming over. It was probably I don't know if it was the day before he died or 2 days before, but it was pretty close. And his coloring was really off. And my brother made a comment like, I didn't want to say it at the time, but he looked like he works in the funeral industry or worked, not anymore.
Yeah.
And so worked a lot with death and had seen a lot and was like, he looked like he was declining, you know. I remember noticing that though myself and just, you know, the night before he died is when he started declining pretty rapidly. But I do remember the hospice nurse coming over either the day before he died or 2 days before and said, I can hear the hole starting to close.
Okay.
So she said, it's going to be quick. It's going to be soon.
Yeah.
You know? And so, I mean, that can mean so many things, right? Like sometimes they hang on for, you know, a couple days or whatever. And so, the dying part was so hard, like, cause I had never witnessed that. And so I didn't know what to expect. And I didn't want to watch him decline and I didn't want to watch his body die. And then what happens after they die, I was really scared, you know, to see the coloring changes, the rigor mortis, you know, like all that stuff. I was really scared of that. And I didn't want to hold my dead baby. I know that's weird. Like, I just didn't want to hold him when he was dead. You know, I was scared of it.
Yeah.
And, I know people have different feelings about that. And I just was scared. I just didn't know what it was going to be like, you know, and I feel like you just fear the unknown, you know? And so I just was scared of all of that. And thankfully, like our nurse she was incredible, you know, like she took over and she was just so sweet. But do you want me to talk about the night he died?
Yeah. Tell us how that kind of transpired and was she there or how, I'd like to know all about that.
Okay. So, this is actually a really sweet memory, but the night before he died, I didn't know I didn't know it was going to be that night. He actually passed away like 7 a.m. on October 12th. So this was like 7 p.m. So 12 hours before he died, we were like just kind of having a, family time, and just, we took he had these cute like striped pajamas on, and my other two boys had these striped pajamas on. And I was like, look, you guys are all matching. And we like took these cute pictures of them in their striped pajamas. And I didn't know that was like going to be the last night, but it was like, it's such like a sweet picture, to look back. And he like, after my kids went to bed, he like started to decline pretty rapidly. And so I texted my hospice nurse and we sent him a video of him. And she said, now you can start administering the meds. And so I didn't know any of this, and you're a pharmacist, right? Like they just like, you just pinch a little dropper on their cheek and it just kind of drips into their mouth. And the meds just help them. I didn't know this. You can probably explain it better than me, but they help his breathing to relax, right? So it's not just, morphine's not just for pain, but it's also to relax their breathing, right?
Yeah.
And so it just helps them be comfortable, like when they're experiencing,
that distress, the stress on your on the breathing. So, yeah.
And so he was like, it was kind of hard at first because you could tell he was a little bit like uncomfortable. He was never like screaming or anything in pain, but you could tell he was a little uncomfortable until we figured out the right balance,
Oh, okay.
How often to give the meds and things like that. But we were in constant communication with our nurse. And so she was really helpful and just told us, you can give him some more, you can give him some more, or, here, try this, try this thing, try that, And so he calmed down pretty quickly. And then from, I want to say like 11 p.m., like midnight, he stopped breathing. And it was like, it was really hard, and I texted my nurse and just said, I think he's gone now. And so she came over to confirm it, and she Crew like started breathing again. Like he kind of like
just kidding.
Just kidding, I'm back, And so she kind of hung around. She was so sweet. It was like the middle of the night, and she wanted to give us our privacy, but also be there for us. And so she waited downstairs. She came and checked him out, and he started breathing again. And some of his color came back because he was like, discolored and purple and whatever. And then kind of started just like the breathing every 10 seconds or something.
So,
just hanging on, but relaxed, like no distress, like no, he was just so calm and peaceful, but it was like this, the feeling was like you felt like your heart was getting ripped out, but it like at the same time, like it was the most peaceful experience of my life, Yeah. And I don't know how you can feel those at the same time, but like I did somehow, And this is actually like really sacred, but like the second he died, I felt like our room fill with like spirits, like heavenly, I don't know, angels or what,
Yeah.
And I remember when he took his last breath, at 7 a.m., I remember like closing my eyes and like not wanting to open them because I was like, it feels amazing in here, And I didn't anticipate that, I thought I'd be like, I was devastated and I was so sad, but I didn't expect the peaceful feelings, I guess.
Yeah.
And I know not everybody experiences that. So I want to, recognize that everyone's experience with death is different, but that was just mine. And it was special for me and my husband because we were the only ones there. But I did want to rewind a little bit. So when he stopped breathing at midnight and then my nurse came, he kind of picked back up again.
Yeah.
She was like, okay, I'm going to go home because I think he's okay now, but just text me if anything changes, And so we were like, okay, buddy, like, you don't have to, like, of course you don't want him to go, but it was like, it's okay.
Yeah.
You need to go, and I was like, why is he, I just kind of was like, why is he hanging on, And I thought maybe he just wants to say bye to his siblings or something. So we like woke up all my kids and like brought him into our bed. And like still to this day, that's like one of my favorite pictures. I mean, it's like kind of, it's really sad.
Oh yeah.
Because like I'm holding this like purple baby, but I have like all my three little kids are sitting next to me, and then I'm holding my baby, and it's like the sweetest little family picture, And I have like the saddest pictures of my 7-year-old holding him, and he was. My other kids were kind of like, why'd you wake me up? Like, I'm tired. And why are you guys crying type of thing?
Yeah.
And why is the baby purple?
Yeah.
But other than that, like, it was like a sweet moment, just to be us 6, together. And anyway, after we kind of realized like, okay, this could go on for a while, like kiss crew goodnight, and then go back to bed, so we put everyone back to bed, and my husband and I just took turns holding him the rest of the night. And but I was like, I was scared for that last moment, I was so scared for what was going to happen. And when he took that last breath at like 7 a.m., we called our hospice nurse. She came over, and I'll never forget, she like walked into our house, and she like started coming upstairs to our bedroom, and she like stopped, and she said, "Do you feel that?" And I was like, yeah, I do. Like it was such a special moment, where heaven was close,
Yeah.
And I'm a big believer in heaven and heavenly beings and God. And, like as hard of an experience as it was and is, and, as painful as death can be, like there's beauty in the pain too, And so that was really sweet. And I honestly, this is so weird. I don't know if you have moments like this winter where you like can't remember certain chunks of time.
Yeah,
like
totally.
Around your grief where you're, and I've heard a therapist say like, it's because it's too painful. You like block out the memory.
Yeah.
And so there's a chunk of time where I'm like, what happened to my other kids? Like, I don't know where they went. Someone came and picked them up, but I don't know who, and I don't know where they went. So, and I don't know when. Like, I don't know when they came and got them.
Yeah.
I don't know how they got ready. Like, I don't remember that.
Yeah.
It's bizarre.
You just block it out. It's so,
It's so weird. I'm like, am I like, it's so weird. And, the nurse was like so sweet. Like she was like, do you want to help me bathe him? And I was like, yeah. So we got like the baby bath, and this was like after he died, And so I was like so nervous about this. I'm like, I don't want to hurt. Like I knew I didn't hurt him, but your mom, I don't know. You're just like, it's just like too much for your brain to handle.
Yeah.
Like you can't comprehend what's happening. It's like too much, And she was so sweet and so tender, and she just like bathed him and was like, look at his cute feet and look at his little hands, look at his, like she was just so sweet, and she helped me put a diaper on him, and she could probably sense my nervousness,
Yeah.
And we put this cute little outfit on that said little brother, and that's how we went to the funeral home. And that's another chunk of time that I've blocked out of my memory, because I had somebody tell me that was their worst experience, was having the funeral home pick up their child.
Oh.
And so I had made it a point. I said, when they come, I'm going to be gone. I don't know where, but I'm going away, because I don't think I can handle them taking my baby from me, And still, I think like there's like a couple, you're probably like this too, where there's like a couple really difficult moments that stand out as like the most painful. And that's one of them.
Oh yeah.
Is when my husband called the funeral home and said, can you come pick up my son? I don't remember what happened after that.
Yeah.
But I disappeared somewhere. I'm like, I don't know if I took a shower. I don't know what happened, but I don't remember them coming. And I'm so glad because I couldn't have handled it. And I guess it was that same guy.
Oh.
And he did not say nice things to my husband.
What?
And it was really hard. Yeah. He's like, here I am, like handing over my baby. And he's like, and here's our casket. And he was like, this is kind of big, but I guess it's fine. And my husband's like, it's like this big. Like, what do you mean it's too big? If it's the baby, like what? It was so weird. It was just a weird interaction. And unfortunately, there were like not one or two negative interactions. There was like 6 or 8, that I know. So that was tough. And you also, I mean, maybe, I don't know if this is important to include, but like when you have like an anticipated death like that, you have to sign something with hospice so that the police aren't called.
Yes. Yeah.
Upon the death, right? Yeah. And somehow that wasn't communicated. And there was like a policeman waiting down our street to come over. And like, yeah, it was, thankfully they didn't come because I think the hospice nurse had heard about it or something. I don't know what happened there, nor do I want to know. But we had been told that. And I was like, oh my gosh, I'm so glad that like they never came over to like investigate, Anyway, so that's just a side note. But I'm trying to think what else. I think we went back to bed, tried to, and slept for a little bit. And then we went and met with the funeral home, which again wasn't very positive. He told us that we should be grateful that we had him for 2 weeks because some of his clients don't get their babies for longer. And I'm like, I'm aware.
Can we not compare?
I'm like, I'm aware. I am really grateful I had him for 2 weeks, but I wish I could have had him for 2 years or 20 or, 100 years. You know what I mean? It's just one of those, like, you have that list of like, never say to a grieving, the at least.
This is one of them.
This is one of them. Don't say at least you got him for this long, or whatever, which I am grateful, like I know any like families who have a stillborn or whatever, like you would give anything to have a day or, you know what I mean? Like I 100% understand that and am so grateful for that time, but it's a strange thing to say to a mom whose baby just died like 5 hours earlier. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, I don't want to focus on the negative, but that was tough. And we kind of made the funeral plans. We had everything planned, but it was just like, we had decided to do it just 2 days later because we had everything
just done.
Everything was done, and it was pretty simple. Like I said, I'm just a private. I didn't want people to watch me, like I was really dreading the funeral. I'm like, I just want to cry in my house.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want to be, I don't know. And I was grateful for the support and, that's how people show their love. And like, I am so grateful, but I just was so uncomfortable and I just did not, I mean, everyone is, right? Like that is not a comfortable situation for anyone. And so, but I remember just wanting to get it over with, which maybe that's terrible to say, but that's honestly how I felt at the time.
Yeah.
I just wanted to, get on with my grief, like jump over that hurdle and then move on with my grief, and I think that's when I still thought like grief was, like this long, like you're going to hurt for 6 months and then you're going to be fine, type of thing. Like, and I thought, I'm getting a head start because I get a few months before he's born to grieve. And then I'll have 3 months after he's born and then I'll be done. And
then I'll be fine.
What I mean? So I'll be fine. And life goes on and it's great. And I won't hurt anymore. I thought the pain was going to be, what's the word? Like
finite,
finite.
Yeah.
Yes.
Just this
measurable.
Is measurable. Yep. Exactly. I've gone through this part and it should be done.
And then like a cut on my arm where it heals.
Yes.
and it goes away and you can't see it anymore. You know, I kind of thought it was going to be like that, but that's not how your hearts heal, you know? Like, I mean, there is lots of healing that happens, thankfully, but it never goes away.
Yeah.
You know? And so anyway, the services were beautiful. So many people came and supported. We just had like we had a viewing at the funeral home. We got to go, actually, my husband and I, we got to go dress the body, which was hard.
Yeah.
And I feel like this is important to talk about because I didn't feel like it was healing for me, but my husband, again, he was doing something for crew that, you know, that
like a physical thing that he could,
you know, and it was pretty traumatic because the way he died, he had to be embalmed differently because of heart failure. They embalm him like in 2 different places or something. I don't know. How it all works, but I mean, you can edit this because people might not want to hear this, but he was wrapped in like plastic wrap.
Yeah, that's our son was too, just because they were so concerned about how fragile his skin was after that. So,
So, but the guy, thankfully, this guy, he's what you, this wasn't our normal guy. He's what you think of when you know, hear like a funeral director.
Yes.
So kind, so compassionate, was like, let me just prepare you. Like, this might be hard to see. And it was. It was terrible. It was terrible for me. And like they don't have all their makeup and stuff on yet, you know, and
so they just look
just hard, you know. So it was more traumatic for me than my husband, but I mean, we were a good team there, I guess, because I could just cry and he could just get him dressed, and it was really sweet. And we put him in this little white outfit, and my grandma made a blanket for him. And so, you know, we had this cute handmade like white blanket. And so that was, I don't know, that was hard for me. But my husband found it, what's the word? Like, helpful or
cathartic
or not enjoyable.
No. It's cathartic
or cathartic. You know,
it's very helpful sometimes doing things, and so because he sounds like he's a doer. So
yes, and actually, this is kind of a funny side note about men and women's grief, but the Angel Watch ladies were like, this is often when you start making a honey-do list for your husband, because they start getting very like projects. Like, I need to do projects, so let's retile the bathroom. Or in my case, the cabinets. Like, let's do the cabinets, you know. And so I thought that was funny, but very true. Very true. Like my husband was very much like
action oriented.
Yes, I want to do stuff with my hands and projects, and you know. And actually, part of that, this is actually kind of a unique thing, a unique part of our story, is that we got to open and close the grave ourselves.
Oh, you did?
Yeah. So it was like, again, for me, really hard and like not, but good for my husband, you know, and he wanted to do something for him that, you know what I mean? And it was just too like, it was traumatic for me, you know, but we tried to make it, you know, memorable, I guess, in that, our cemetery, I actually don't think they do it anymore. But at the time, they said we're like one of the only cemeteries in the region. I guess like cemeteries are part of I don't know, but that allow families to open and close infant graves. So not big people's graves, because that would take forever. And so we set a date to do that, and I think it was the next day, because it had to be before because we did a viewing and a graveside. That's what we chose. So I think it was the day before the graveside. It would have had to have been. And like all my siblings came, all my husband's siblings came, and our parents were there. I think my parents were there. I don't know if my husband's parents were there. They live out of state as well. And my grandma was there, and my kids, obviously, a bunch of my nieces and nephews. And so it was like nobody wants to do that,
Yeah.
But it was like, again, like it was like sweet that everyone could like dig a little,
Yeah.
I don't know. It's like, just for the mom, like
it just feels so messed up because you're like, we're digging a grave for my baby, and then we're going to be putting the dirt on the top of my baby's casket.
It's unnatural.
It's horrible.
I don't want to put him down there, and so I don't think I dug any because I like couldn't, and but I did cover a little bit after and another one of like the hardest moments in my life, and so we kind of let everybody take a turn. We this is like so sweet how many people wanted to help and love, and they send food, right? They send food,
so much food.
And we had so much food, and so we're like, this is a great time to bring out all that food that people have given us. And so we like had a table, and the cemetery that he's buried at had just opened a new section. So the other sections were like pretty full. And so it was this brand new section, and it's this like beautiful setting. It really is, with like the mountains, and then there's like a giant flagpole and this beautiful garden next to him. And I'm not one that like loves to go to the cemetery or anything, but it is pretty. It's a beautiful setting. And, and it's right by our house. It's literally like a mile away. I moved. And so now it's 2 miles away because we're still really close, and which is nice. Like, I like to think that they're close, even though I know he's not there, but like it just messes with your mind. Like, I don't know how it's comforting, but it is kind of sometimes. And what was I saying? Oh, so everybody came from my husband's family, my family, and they all took a turn, and the kids were running around and, playing and climbing on the rocks and getting in the water and, in the little fountain or whatever.
Yeah.
And so it is a sweet memory, although tender and hard, Yeah. And I don't know, do you want me to just continue into the service?
Yes, that would be great.
So the service, again, just hard for me. Like, a lot of people describe, I've noticed, like, it as a beautiful day. And I don't know that I'd say beautiful. It was like pretty outside, and like, it's beautiful to see the support, but it was really hard. It was really hard for me. And just like all eyes, it's just so hard for me to like, trying to process everything, and everyone's crying, and you're trying to like comfort them and, like recognize their grief while still honoring your grief. Anyway, one like really sweet thing though that happened at the funeral home was, I didn't really want to have a viewing, but I had a lot of people say like, you'll regret not doing a viewing. I don't know that I feel differently now, but I do want to like tell people to just do what you feel you want to do, like take people's advice, sure, because like you're not in your right mind really, to think through like, oh, maybe I will regret this, or maybe it is helpful for people to see the body, for their mortal brain to like process like, oh, he's not here, like his body is dead, like I do see value in that, like, because it is so confusing, especially when it's a child, it's like conflicts with, your, I don't know. Nature, like
it's unnatural,
natural process of things, anyway, so that was hard. But one really sweet thing, like my kids and I, like, and my husband, like, we wrote him a letter and like put it in the casket with him. And we my kids like drew a picture and like did what they could do, as far as like my son, I think, wrote a cute little note, and then the other ones just like drew a picture, and it's really sweet. And so as we're standing in the line, which is so like
terrible.
It's so terrible. It's so terrible. But I don't know how, like people want to express their condolences, and they want to show their love, and they, so I don't know what if there's a better, I don't know what the better option is. It's just hard,
Yeah.
you know, but I remember like, my sister, somebody was, you know, keeping an eye on my little kids, and my 7-year-old kept coming in and putting flowers, like picking flowers from the funeral home out in the front, putting them in the casket. And it was so sweet. And they came and asked us like not to pick the flowers. And so I told my son, I'm like, bud, you can't pick the flowers out there. And so pretty soon I'm like talking to people, and I look over and he has handfuls of grass. And he's like picking grass from the yard and like putting it in the casket. And it was so sweet. It was funny, but it was so cute.
Yes, that is
hilarious. Because it was just like, I just want to do something. And they said, you can't do flowers. So fine, I'll pick the grass.
Obviously, the grasses make sense.
But it really was just the sweetest thing, you know, because he's like, I just want to show my love for my brother, you know. And so we kept it there, you know, and buried him with that. Like he has all this grass and flowers all over. I like tried to scoot it down to the bottom a little bit, but it was just so sweet, you know.
Yes, like, that is like the cutest.
It was really cute. It was really sweet. So then after that, I don't know how I feel about this, but and the only reason I bring this up is, again, to just tell people to not be afraid to say what they're comfortable with, you know, like I had someone like videoing it. Like my husband really wanted the viewing like recorded, and I didn't want it recorded. And I wish I would have said something. I mean, I don't look at the footage, really. I think I've seen it like, you know, maybe twice because it's like too painful to watch.
Yeah.
But it is cute because you can see my son like
sneaking
the grass on crew. And so that part is sweet, you know, because you're like, oh, he's, you know, but the other parts, like it's just like, it's too painful to watch, you know, it's just too painful. So I don't know, but maybe there's something to be said about, you know, someday if you want to watch it, at least it's there as an option, you know?
Yeah.
So then we rode in the hearse to the cemetery, which was another like it's terrible, you know?
Yeah, you're like, I got to go in a hearse.
Yeah, you just never think you're going to do that, you know? I'm sitting back here with a box with my baby, and it's too much. And so got to the cemetery. We had a beautiful service. It really was. We just had like a little bit of music, a really special prayer, like 1 or 2 comments, and that was it. You know, it was really brief and sweet and short and sweet. That's how I wanted it, you know. And everyone, you know, came and hugged us after. And I had my photographer friend was there too and took pictures of that. And same thing, like I'm glad I have them, but I really have to prepare now to like look at them. Do you know what I mean? Like
it's so painful to look at how sad you were.
Oh. Yeah. And like, because you can go right back, even though I don't feel that pain like today. Yeah, I can if I go back. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And you're like,
it's just right there. It's like just kind of hanging out.
Yes, but I don't want to feel that. You know,
it's so hard.
It is so hard. But also, I had a friend point out to me that like the pain. She's like, that's I've heard people say that like that's a sign of your love. You know, or it can be. That's not the only way to feel love for somebody, but especially in a loss, like I like the reframing of that. Like, because I feel pain, it's because I love them so much, you know, and I just miss them that much, you know?
Yeah.
And so I like that reframing a little bit and thinking of it more in that light. And she was like, another thing she said was like, what if you didn't feel pain when you thought about him? And I was like, oh,
yeah,
you know? Yeah. So I guess I wouldn't want to not feel pain.
Yeah.
You know, either. Yeah. So that, I don't know. that kind of helped me a little bit in processing and helping to shift my mindset about grief being finite, and like it helped me to realize, no, this is a lifelong.
Yep, it's not going away.
No, not going away. But you can take your pain in doses. Like it doesn't have to be. Like there were so many valuable things that I learned from people, and that told me different things to help me cope, and so I'm trying to think. We went to a luncheon at my aunt's house after the graveside service. I remember like eating the food and not tasting it, and being like, I know I need to put food in my body, but I can't taste it, Yeah. And there was like a video playing of Crew. And I remember just like, at some point in your grief, do you feel like where you're just exhausted?
Yes.
And like, you can't cry anymore.
Yeah.
You can't and that's where I was.
Yeah.
And
you kind of almost zone out. You're just like,
that's what it was. Yes. Yeah. I was just like, I remember watching it and like eating my Olive Garden and being like, this is like, I don't feel like I'm here. It was just a surreal feeling. But I forgot to tell you about closing the grave.
Oh, so yes. Yeah.
After the service, we let everybody who wanted to come and like put a scoop of dirt on after they lowered the casket, And so that was another like really tender, like hard thing, but sweet that everyone could be a part of that. And I think fulfilling for my husband, again, to be able to do something for him. And, but a unique and tough part, I guess, of Crew's journey. I don't know what else. We did like a balloon release at my aunt's house, which was sweet. Everybody did a balloon release, and that was fun. And we do that every year for his birthday now. Just me and my little family, we go to the cemetery and write a note on the balloon and then send it to him, So that's kind of sweet. I don't know what else. Is there anything else?
I think that is wonderful. Like that is, it is delightful, honestly, to talk to somebody that was able to have time with their baby.
Yeah,
like, it really has been
such a blessing.
It really is beautiful and lovely that you guys did what you did. And I think that is hard, but of course, such a different type of grief too.
For sure.
That you had to deal with. Like, I just,
Sure.
It's like super complicated regardless of the situation. It just always hard.
Yeah. Hard. I always like to say like hard is hard.
Yeah. Hard is hard.
Hard is hard. You can't like compare like, this grief story with this grief story. It's like, it's all hard.
Yeah.
All of it is hard.
Yeah. You're just trying to figure it out. Just trying to figure it out as you deal with it. So
yeah.
April, I think this was wonderful. Do you want to, I would love to hear any last thing that you wanted to say about Crew and, or anything we may have missed.
I don't think we missed anything. I feel like I talked your ear off, and I'm so sorry.
Which is awesome. We love to hear these details because so helpful to somebody else that might be going through this. Honestly, I think this will be.
And thank you for letting me, because like, I don't know the last time I've talked about this story in detail. Yeah. I don't know that I've ever told anyone like, anyway, I don't know the last time I was able to
fully just
like when you if and when you get to talk about your deceased child, it's in like a sentence or two, you know what I mean?
It's like, it's just so you're just like, he was born at 37 weeks, he had HL. And everybody's like, that's what I know.
Totally. And I mean, I sympathize with people in that, like, sometimes they don't want to hear the details, and I get that, It's too sad. And nobody has 2.5 hours to hear my story from start to finish,
But we do, so.
So thank you. I know you don't either, but I really am grateful for you listening. And
it was so tender. Like, and I'm just so grateful that you were able to tell about him and who he was. Like, just and how your family just loved on him.
Yeah. Yeah. It was very sweet and special.
Yeah.
So grateful.
Well, thank you, April. I really appreciate your time today. Thank you for sharing Crew with us too.
Thank you so much.